Having assigned our students either a task or a quiz, we're going to want to review the results that have come back so that we can determine what the next steps are going to be to help those students improve. When looking at coursework, we can either jump into the course topic itself or come through to the Classwork tab. The Classwork tab will show us any of the tasks or assessments that have been assigned to students, and clicking into any of these elements will take us through to where we'll be able to review any of the reports and results that have come back so far from our Report tab section. Looking at an example task report first, there's a number of key pieces of information that help us better understand our students. First of all, at the top of our page, we can see who's engaged with the activity and who's yet to finish the task itself. As we come down the page, we get a more concise breakdown of student by student level of how this performance has gone in the task itself, where we can either sort by completion, clicking on the headline here, or sort by accuracy. When we sort by accuracy, it can provide us an insight as to which students might have really struggled in this learning activity and might be ones we might want to take a look at in more depth. Before diving into individual student results, we can come down a little bit further on the page and see how students progressed across the activity itself as a whole. By expanding out any of our closed question sections, we can get a sense of the accuracy for the whole group across these questions, which might identify for us any of the questions where it was posing a significant challenge for the group that we might want to dive back into. Looking at this particular example inside this report, we can view the mistakes and see an aggregate of which students made which mistakes. Looking at this information, it can give us a sense as the teacher as to what kind of misconceptions might be existing or what elements might need correcting as we move forward in our teaching. Coming back to the report space, we can come in and see any of the open-ended responses that students have written and dive in to take a look through each of these. Here we can view if students have had multiple attempts or what their final attempt at the actual answer for the question will be. And if your school is AI enabled, you'll be able to see the AI feedback from up here in the top right-hand corner for any task where this is going to exist. Shifting over to an assessment report, we get a similar amount of insight to our students, albeit a different perspective on how they're performing. In the top line information up here, we can see an overall picture of how students perform within this assessment before we dive into their student results. In the same way as we did in the task space, we can sort these student results based on their scores that are here, but we'll also see a category along the right-hand side where it's providing us an insight as to how students performed in each of these specific individual areas. We can of course click into the student's name itself and see a breakdown individually for them, and also get a sense if the student has been assigned any work that they might need to complete, or also view the detail of their assessment by coming down and viewing the answers. Coming back to our overall perspective, we can start to take a look at each of the categories of questions that we have, which we refer to as analysis tags, and see how students performed across the board. This provides us a good indication of where the strengths and weaknesses of our cohort of students might be, and helps us to understand how we can direct our teaching and learning as we move forward. Clicking down on one of these drop downs will show you the students that fell below the threshold that you set in place when you set this assessment up, and will also allow you to manually assign this if this was a process that you were looking to do manually rather than automatically. Coming a little further down the report, we can see a breakdown of how students performed on a question by question basis. All of this data can also be exported if you want to dive into it a little bit further and look at it inside of something like Excel. Reviewing tasks and assessments provides you with the critical or timely insights about your students. Armed with this information, you are better equipped to help support them, maximizing each of your students' potential.